Welcome to the Popcorn Talk Network, for the online broadcast network that features movie discussion, news, and interviews. Press 1.
Popcorn Talk. We talk movies. In a world where action movies are constantly exploding at the box office, our heroes take on the monumental task of dissecting and analyzing all aspects of action movies to truly understand what it takes to make a great action film. Ben Bateman, Andrew Ghai, in a Popcorn Talk Network exclusive. This is Action Movie Anatomy.
Boom! Boom! Where's the explosion? Welcome to the show.
We just made
Welcome
the
to the show, guys. That was explosive. Welcome to Action Movie Anatomy on the Popcorn Talk Network, the online broadcast network dedicated to talking movies and all things movie related. I am your host, Ben Bateman, joined today by the man with the plan in the purple shirt and no tie, Mr. Andrew Ghai.
What's up? I love this movie. Ready to talk about it. I'm excited. We're back to our roots.
We use this movie
show.
as the basis for one of the categories. One of the categories, which is totally legitimate, is The Fugitive. And we used to try to say Die Hard, but we decided to change it because it made us laugh too much. Now, this is the movie, is The Fugitive.
Let's see what happens. Let's see at the end of the episode, we're still on the same page as we've been for the last 26 episodes.
It's like it's 7 Academy Award nominations. This movie is a classic by all people's metrics. It's 22 years old. It holds up extremely well.
Dude, I can't believe I didn't know that Tommy Lee Jones won supporting actor for this. I didn't even know he was nominated.
We'll get into why that's a little bit embarrassing. Though he's incredible.
Oh, he's phenomenal. He's the best part of the movie. Yeah.
But some of the roles that he beat out, it's a little bit like...
Yeah, it's
not
a little...
quite sure what you guys were thinking.
Very surprising, to say the least.
Nonetheless, this is Action Movie Anatomy. We do action movies on this show. We break them down. They are usually made after 1981, and they basically refer to 4 basic rules. Sometimes we break the rules. We often break the rules, but we'll explain it if we do.
Rules are made to be broken, Ben.
It's a good line. Did you come up with that yourself?
I did. I just wrote that right now.
Just in your head?
Yeah.
Write it down. Don't forget it.
I forgot.
There's a thing that says 5 stars. You want to put it in your 5-star category?
I'm going to write that down real quick.
Rule number 1, the hero always plays by their own rules. Rule number 2, the hero and the villain are always the smartest people or things or beings or dinosaurs, whatever, in the room. The movie is driven by a police, military, or political figure. We sort of changed that one. It's now police, military, mercenary, or political figure. And political refers to he is either the man or works for the man.
Right.
So you could be an MTA operator and still be in it.
I wonder why we changed that rule.
And the movie contains a minimum of 1 explosion. Now, one of the ones that we wanted to sort of bring up today is that in this movie, there isn't really a notable villain. There's a villain that you don't know is the villain until the last 20 minutes, but he's just not a good villain anyway.
He like fills a piece in the puzzle. It's really just like all about a hero and an anti-hero, an antagonist and protagonist. But he's not a bad guy.
So, because Tommy Lee Jones is kind of also a protagonist.
Definitely.
So it's funny because like this, it's like we should almost change the hero and the villain are always the smartest people in the room to the 2 main characters. Like,
yeah, but then you just it just gets murky, you know?
Like, would you say that Tommy Lee Jones is the antagonist?
I would say he's the antagonist, but I would also say that Dr. Nichols is the other smartest guy in the room.
Because he set it all up.
Because he set the whole thing up.
Because he's
brilliant.
so cunning.
He's so cunning.
And
just
he's got
to sell drugs.
He's got that like slightly European accent. He makes him so much more.
I've got the perfect recast.
He's like a Bond villain.
He's a total Bond villain.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he does fine.
He knows how to manipulate plutonium, probably.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
That's on his resume.
Yes. Okay, so anyway, we haven't officially changed that. There's probably a chance that could be changed. I don't really know.
We're just going to change all of our rules.
Yeah, if you guys are like super into that. So I do want to get to the trailer right now and do all that. But before we do it, we just want to remind you guys that this is the Popcorn Talk Network. There are a bunch of shows on the Popcorn Talk Network. There's some brand new shows. There's Anatomy of a Movie, which comes out every Friday and covers brand new movies. There's our show. There's Video Game Movie Anatomy.
Yes.
There's also a couple new shows, Historic Hollywood, if you're really into like old school movies and old school directors, you want to know more about that, that's new. Disney Movie News. The network is exploding right now. There's all kinds of cool new stuff, so check that out. Also on iTunes, we have been promising to make these Action Movie Anatomy mugs that we're going to be giving away.
We've got the design.
Yeah, the mugs are basically now ordered, and we just are giving our last one away today because we hit 20 finally.
Yeah.
Reviews on iTunes.
Amazing reviews. Thank you guys so much for them.
Yes, so we will share the final mug winner at the end of the show today, and some other exciting stuff to bring up in a minute as well. But before we do, I think we should watch the trailer for The Fugitive.
Let's do it.
And riff on it.
Not a good trailer.
No, but 1993. What are you gonna do?
In a world
one man with his back against the wall. It's a good voice, right?
It's a good one. That was good. His beard is sweet.
Where's my wife? My wife, my family.
I'm not leaving without my family.
What about my family?
Get off my plane.
I love the sound bites. Like, Makuga was trying to get me to come out last night, and he texted my buddy. He was like, tell Bateman, come out or I'll fucking kill him. Fucking kill him. Say it in the Cage voice.
Oh, that episode was just hilarious.
Yeah.
I think it's good we got back to a 2-man episode after that madness.
After we just basically did the John Travolta, the high-pitched fuck like
50 times.
Just became NC-17 in the course of like 10 minutes.
Yeah, there was nudity.
Yeah. I exposed myself under the table.
It was horrible.
God, he's sweet.
He's so good.
Yeah.
I can't believe he won an Academy Award for that.
It's like super iconic though in the sense that it's super iconic in the sense that it's like the character that so many characters are based on now.
Oh, absolutely. Which
You know?
is funny because he was based off of the Colonel in Les Miserables, I believe.
Is that true?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that part. You must have done some research for this or something.
I worked on the film. I was 5.
I like when he's shaving.
Show him shaving.
Yeah. Shaving is intense.
Careful, you might cut yourself.
I loved how the DVD. I also loved how low quality the DVD
why
we watched
are they
was.
cutting between their names and him shaving and them looking for him? So it's hilarious. What about the DVD?
I just loved how like we. Oh, that was it. That was the whole trailer.
That's the whole trailer.
Wow. You bought the DVD last year
Can't
when we
wait
were
to
at,
watch
like,
it.
Best Buy or something, and it was like a 2-pack that was like it was like U.S. Marshals and The Fugitive.
$4.99.
Yeah, but like definitely not HD. Definitely in no way like a deluxe feature. Like so bad, so much so that like the special features of the film were just included on the front end of the cut.
Yeah.
Like not even a menu. We
it
like
was just
push
there.
play.
Yeah.
And like I love that the special features are just like the director Andrew Jackson.
Andrew Davis just sitting there on an old school phone, like bugging Tommy Lee Jones.
And they're like talking. He's like, watching the movie right now. Tom was like, oh yeah, these credits are pretty cool.
Yeah, he's like, those are some nice credits you got there, Andy.
He cuts to like Harrison and he's like, I think the thing I remember the most fondly about this film was working with Tommy Lee and the relationship we had on the film. It's just like, and that's like in the movie. It's not even a special features.
I like when they were also trying to queue up. He's like, Lee, Jones. You got Jones too? Okay, good. We're synced.
Yeah, it was pretty funny. But anyway, that was the trailer for The Fugitive. Definitely
Is
pretty sweet.
gripping?
The movie's gripping. I wouldn't call the trailer gripping.
I don't know. I was gripped.
Yeah, that's amazing, the evolution of these trailers.
Yeah, it really is incredible to see. Like, that used to get people to watch movies.
People were excited.
Now trailers are like,
Incredible.
yeah, they have to be. They have to be amazing.
Have you ever watched the trailer for Edge of Tomorrow starring Tom Cruise?
I haven't. You'll have to show me sometime.
I'm going to tell you a story.
Yeah, like Inception 2,
Yeah. Incredible.
Dark Knight, Edge of Tomorrow. Those are some of the absolute greatest.
Star Trek
and
1.
Star Trek 1, yeah. There you
Yeah,
go.
love the Star Trek 1 trailer. Congo. A diamond mine with incredible bounty.
The Lost City of Zinj.
The same clip explained over and over. All right,
myth of the
it's a
killer
2-man
ape.
show. We're rambling.
We're just
gonna
trying to fill time. We don't know what we're talking about today.
we're gonna get into fist pump moment and thesis and all that in just a second. But before we do that, there's a couple things that we want to share.
Yeah.
And one of them is that we're in the 21st century now. We have a Twitter. The Action Movie Anatomy Twitter is official.
It is.
It's at AMA Podcast. I don't really know like how many of you guys that watch this or love the show are on Twitter. Until I was in media, I didn't have a Twitter. I
Yeah,
didn't
same.
like
I
Twitter.
got one for the show. By the way, if Action Movie Anatomy Podcast passes my followers in 1 week,
Yeah.
I'm gonna be very upset.
I think you should prepare to be upset.
I think I should too.
You have like 9 followers.
I got 92.
Ooh, wow.
It's only been 6 months.
Me. So guys, we have a Twitter. It's at AMA Podcast, and we've tagged I think a couple of the super fans. I think we follow you, but we're gonna have a contest here. So the deal is this.
This is cool. I'm happy with this. I think this is a great idea.
It's better than giving away mugs, Phantom mugs, all of which are going to be shipped, I promise.
They're just gonna be Dixie cups with our label on them.
Here's a list of 10 movies, guys, and this is the way this is going to work, all right? Prepare yourself.
Hold on. Tell them what they're doing first, so that way they can.
Okay.
Yeah.
If we can get to 100 Twitter followers on the Action Movie Anatomy Twitter, so AMA podcast, if we can get to 100 Twitter followers in the first week this thing is alive, by next week's show, if we're at 100 Twitter followers, we are going to choose one of these 10 movies determined by a randomly selected Twitter follower. So we're going to select your name. You're going to choose one of these 10 movies. You're going to tell us to do that. We will prepare it, do it like normal. And we will share your recast, your fist pump moment, your thesis statement, your favorite line,
and a picture of your family.
Your family.
Your family.
And which category. So you will prepare the 5 things we prepared, just like you're a guest, and we will share all of those, all of your choices at the end of the episode and give you the shout out and the credit.
It's like you get to be on the show without having to drive all the way to Northern Hollywood.
Yeah, and we're technically insufficient, but if it's possible, we can figure out a way to have you call in, we'll do that too. But we have to check to make sure we can do that. But if we can do that, we'll do that. If not, we'll just share everything. So here's the list of the 10 movies, guys. And we'll repeat this again at the end of the show. Gone in 60 Seconds, Face Off, The Edge, pick The Edge, please, Commando, True Lies, Fast and the Furious 1, Crimson Tide, The Last Samurai, Die Hard 3 with a Vengeance, and then Mystery Movie, which is you don't want to choose any of those 9, and you get to let us determine what movie to choose, which is what we do every week. But
it's very exciting when you say Mystery Movie, though.
Yeah, you can do, like, it's your mystery movie.
Yeah, we're not doing Clue.
No, we'll find something good. So that's the contest, guys. We have 1 week to get 100 Twitter followers. If we can do it, we'll do it. And, if we fail, then we'll come up with something else. So let's get into the show.
Sure. So we're going to go right into, what?
Thesis statements.
Thesis. Okay.
Yeah, this is an exciting one for me.
Yeah, I feel pretty happy about mine, too, but you might have already heard it on a different episode.
Yes. Do you want to talk first?
Yes.
I almost just stole yours.
He's like, I'm going to go first. Yeah. All right, I'll do mine. So I don't know if you guys saw the Minority Report episode, but halfway through it, essentially, I kind of dropped a way better thesis than I had originally, which is that Minority Report is the Fugitive set in the future. Think about it.
Set in the future.
In the future. Anderton and Kimble both are wrongfully accused for a crime that they did not commit.
Right.
They have to go on the run. They change their appearance.
Right.
Which is the eyes and the beard.
Right.
They both break back into their place of work to get things that they need.
Yeah.
And then lastly, they both embarrass and confront the villain.
Yep.
Which is Max von Sydow and what is this guy's name?
The guy whose name is written down on the last page here.
On the last page because we don't really care. I just wrote Nichols. Yeah. Dr. Nichols.
You can just call him Dr.
Yeah. At a ceremony honoring them.
Yes.
So you look at it, they're like the exact same movie.
Now here's the beauty of your thesis statement and my thesis statement. They're very closely related, but they're totally different.
Oh, what, does that mean that Tom Cruise is involved?
Yes.
Yes. We did it, guys. We brought him on somehow.
But by the way, just before I get that, just remind, official Twitter for hashtag Action Movie Anatomy podcast on the Popcorn Talk, hosted by Ben Bateman Media, Andrew Ghai, and the spirit of @TomCruise.
Yes.
Did you even know that was there?
I did. I saw that last night and I just lost it. It was very good.
Yeah, he's unofficially become he's like the mascot of the show, which makes me really happy because I didn't intend it to be that way when we started the show.
He's definitely the mascot of the show.
Like, it kind of happened on accident.
Yeah.
Yeah, but in an awesome way. So my thesis is this.
Okay.
There are 2 action heroes who are the all-time greatest, and that's Tom Cruise and Harrison Ford. And when I say that, it's because, like, Schwarzenegger, Stallone, they're action stars, but they're genre picture stars.
Right.
So they make movies that are this one kind of movie.
And they look like superheroes.
Yeah, they're not really able to play the kind of characters that these guys can play.
Absolutely.
Now, the hilarious part is that on the one hand, you have Cruise, who is... he can't play the everyman.
No, he's still always a superstar for some reason.
Yeah, like if you think about like War of the Worlds,
yeah,
he's like trying to be the everyman. The guy's like, "What's your problem?" And he's like, "I can think of 5 or 6 women who can tell you." Like, you know what I mean?
Like there's always. Well, what about him in Last Samurai?
Yeah,
he's kind of like drunk and kind of like.
But he's still
close.
a superhero.
Yeah, he is.
You can't. You see, Tom Cruise can't play the everyman. He can get close. Jerry Maguire, like he's close.
But there's no Kimble-like characters.
No,
like this is.
Harrison Ford, on the other hand, is the absolute everyman. He's the other half of he's the other side of the coin. So the beauty of it is that if those are the 2 halves, they did the same movie, one of which was like a sci-fi thriller where he's like running around and like jumping from like floating cars.
Right.
And the other one, instead of like changing his eyes out, he's like shaving really intensely.
Like, I'm good at shaving.
Yeah. And he's like, look at my sweet bicep, but he's like, you know,
dude, Harrison Ford was jacked,
but like 90s jacked,
like Die Hard,
like McClane jacked.
It's like he works out sometimes, probably.
Yeah. Like it's very. I have a feeling that in the '90s it was intentional. Like
of course,
it was like exactly what they were going for. It
Yeah,
wasn't
it's like you
he
want to look
could've-
like you're in shape, but you don't want to look like you kick someone's ass.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So anyway, my thesis after that long-winded explanation was
After I was talking about Harrison Ford without his shirt on.
if there are two ultimate action heroes of all time, this is the representative movie of the spirit of the most relatable everyman action hero ever made. This is the movie. This is the movie that shows you who the greatest everyman action hero ever is, and that is Harrison Ford, and that is basically as Kimble. It's like he's just unassuming, and he's like.
Right, like he's so intelligent and he knows what he needs to do, but he doesn't know how to do it.
Right.
So he's like kind of figuring it out along the way. He gets caught up a few times. He barely gets away a few times, but it's all believable.
Yeah.
There's never moments in this movie where you're kind of like, oh, well, he wouldn't be able to squeeze through the door in time, or oh, he wouldn't jump. I mean, the waterfall and the aqueduct, you're like, maybe.
Right. Oh, Nicholas Phoenix just followed us on Twitter. That's our first one since we announced the contest.
If you want to go ahead and follow at Andrew Ghai on Twitter, I would appreciate the
Anybody
follow.
that gets the follow right now, I'm going to give the shout out.
Yeah, let's
Phoenix.
do it.
Phoenixes are sweet. Thanks, Nick.
They are?
Yeah, they
so
are.
are centaurs.
Yeah. Is his last name Centaur?
No, all right, fair.
We're getting too clever here. All right, that's my thesis statement. So let's get into fist pump.
Oh, yeah. So you go first on this one. I love my fist pump.
I'm excited about mine too.
Yeah?
You're watching this movie. You're totally in it. You're like, this is really engaging. You're like, oh my god, what great characters like Tommy Lee and Harrison. They're chasing each other, and it gets to the end. And you're like, this doesn't. In some ways, this feels more like a thriller than an action movie. And then he gets into a fist fight with Nichols on the roof of the building.
A classic 90s fist fight.
He's like, you killed my wife. Punch you in the face.
Heavy blow.
Yeah, heavy blow. Then it's like uppercut. Punch you in the stomach. Push you into a table. Grab you by the shirt. Punch you again.
It's classic, like two dudes that don't know how to fight, just duking it out. In the 90s.
Yeah, like flash forward a few years, and Harrison Ford is doing this as the president in Air Force One. It's the exact same thing.
It literally is like grabbing him by the collar. Yeah, it's great.
90s action heroes did not have special skill sets that made them like a nightmare for people like you. They didn't have skill sets that meant like, and that guy knows how to handle himself. Why would I know that? But they don't have those
they just
things.
try harder. And
They
they're
just
mad enough.
They throw punches.
Yeah.
And then they're really good at having like a slightly torn white collared shirt with a little blood coming out of here.
Have like a little cut on their nose.
And their hair's kind of ruffled up, but they've just kicked someone's ass, and now they have to like run to the next location. That's like 90s action heroes to a T, and that's what he does in this movie.
Because that was the moment when like we're sitting there, we're like, this movie's totally legitimate, but this part is fucking hilarious.
Yeah.
Because it is the 90s.
It's great. That was
perfect.
my fist bump moment.
Just like the music throughout.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Do do boom. Guitar.
Yeah, exactly. So my fist pump moment it's a heartfelt moment.
Oh, I know which one. I loved this moment too.
It's a great moment.
Yeah,
so it's when he's in the hospital and he's like looking out for number one. He's in there as the janitor. He's got the fake ID. He's trying to figure out about the prosthetics, which is genius.
Yep.
And then he gets asked to take that kid down to surgery. And he already knows that something's not right. So he looks at his chart. He starts talking to the kid. I think the kid's name is Joel, which is his real name in real life. And he goes and he changes the order, saves the kid's life, and he puts his real signature on it. I love it. It's just like the everyman, the true good Samaritan. He's a hero.
Yeah.
He's a truly good guy. And that's what you see that throughout this movie many, many times.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Tommy Lee Jones starts to kind of figure it out. He's like, this guy's a good guy.
Do you know that
Like every single one of his peers respects him.
Right.
Everyone looks up to him. No one will sell him out. No one has anything bad to say about him. And he's going to save some dude's life, kid's life.
and he didn't shoot when he had the chance?
And he didn't shoot when he had the chance.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. Did you know that in the original cut of the film that Julianne Moore is a much larger character?
Yes, and that's why she's billed so high.
Yeah, and he goes and he sees her later, and he kind of seeks her out because she was helpful.
Right, and don't they kind of start a relationship?
Yeah, he like falls for her, and they cut all the scenes from the movie.
Which is funny because that's why she's billed like 4th or 5th.
Yeah.
Jane Lynch was kind of the same thing.
Oh, did she have a bigger role?
Kind of, but he was supposed to come back to her again. So yes, a little bit larger, but
Okay.
it was the same thing. Is they thought that they should have romantic interest in one another.
Interesting.
Which they didn't say it for the Julianne Moore thing. They said it for the Lynch thing. It's
Right.
just like it didn't fit because this guy's out trying to avenge his wife. He's going to already meet a new chick.
Right.
Yeah. So I'm glad they didn't.
Yeah, agreed. It's interesting though.
Yeah.
So that's the fist bump moments. Should we get into just like star breakdown maybe? See what these guys are at in their careers. These sweet places in their careers.
Yeah. I mean, Harrison Ford, who has already been a complete powerhouse and
Yeah.
killing it, goes on to do even more. You know what
Yeah,
I mean?
this is like the eye of the storm for him because like
Yeah.
77 is Star Wars and then I believe 87 is Jedi. I want to say.
I'm so bad with
Might be
those
86
dates.
actually.
Yeah.
I think it might be 70. Oh no, it's 83. I don't know. I'm jumping all over the place.
And then he just finished all of the Indiana Jones movies.
Yeah, because Last Crusade is 89.
Yeah.
And Patriot Games 92. Presumed Innocent 1990. You seen Presumed Innocent?
I haven't.
Sweet.
Is it good?
Yeah, it's
yeah?
good. Yeah,
Okay.
it's totally good. And then Patriot Games is like just like more of that. Like I just believe him as that character, just
Yeah.
like dead on.
Does he ever play a role that's just like, no? Unbelievable in that
Harrison?
sense? Yeah.
I think when he got older and he started taking on like more sort of like interesting parts, like less just like Denzel as Denzel, Harrison
Right,
Ford,
right.
Harrison Ford. I think I started to believe a little less, you know,
Yeah.
like not. I don't know. Just
Yeah, no. I totally understand what you're saying.
some guys hit this point where we were sort of talking about this, the everyman thing. It's great right up until the point where it's like not believable anymore. It's like not physically believable anymore.
Right. You kind of lose it.
Yeah, and it's just harder. You
It's
have
like
to change.
almost, like Denzel in The Equalizer is almost that.
Yes,
You know,
exactly.
it's very close.
You have to start playing. Oh, look at this. We got
that?
another
We got
one.
another one?
We got Nicholas Phoenix, we mentioned, and we have EJ Martinez, book reader, movie watcher, scruffy looking nerf herder. I love it. It's a Star
Weird,
Wars
guys. I
reference.
haven't gotten one on my Twitter.
Witty banter. Well, you just inspired some witty banter. Look at that. Thank you for the follow, sir. Let's continue down the list.
Yeah.
So Patriot Games presumed innocent, Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. I would definitely say Harrison Ford was killing it, and then obviously
And then he goes on to be just nuts. Air Force One. And
Fugitive, Air Force One.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think is Frantic. Is that the one where he loses his wife? Where he loses
Where's my
his
wife?
Yeah. Is that like mid '90s somewhere?
I don't know. I didn't see that.
95, I think.
Was it good?
Frantic? Yeah, it's sorry. We have clips later that we'll show that are like from Frantic.
Oh, yeah.
That's the whole like you have my wife's suitcase.
Yeah.
Like that whole thing. He sounds like Mark Quinn when I do his voice.
You do.
Yeah.
Mark, shout out.
Big shout out to Mark Quinn. So then you look at Tommy Lee.
We should talk about that while I read these comments real quick.
Tommy Lee, this is a good one. So 3 most recent hits: House of Cards, 1993, Under Siege, 1992, JFK, 1991. Now, House of Cards. No, House of Games is what I'm thinking of. What
House
movie?
of Cards is the TV show.
Yeah, but what is the movie House of Cards? Do you know?
I just pulled it.
Yeah. Do you mind looking it up?
Yeah,
I'm
no,
curious
absolutely.
about it. I feel like I actually know what that movie is. Now, Under Siege is great. Under Siege,
I love Under Siege.
totally big fan. Well, because the director, you pulled this stuff here about the director that he worked with
Seagal, he got his debut.
on Deadly Ground. Is that what it is? Above the Law?
Yes. Is that? I can't remember exactly what the name of it was.
It's one of the two. On Deadly Ground, Above the Law.
Yeah,
Above the
Above the
Law.
Law. Above
Yeah.
the Law was the very first Steven Seagal movie, and then he went on to work on Under Siege.
Right.
With
So then he-
Tommy Lee Jones.
Yeah, and that's like Tommy Lee and Under Siege. Is Busey in that also?
Yeah, dude, that movie's so good.
Under Siege?
Yes.
Oh yeah, we should have put that on the
I
list.
know.
Okay,
Maybe we should make that be the
mystery movie. Is
Yeah.
no longer mystery movie.
Mystery movie is Under Siege
is now
1.
You can now choose Under Siege 1 if you are the selected Twitter follower if we hit 100. Just for the record. So yes, I think Tommy Lee is sweet. He has like I'm pretty sure in Under Siege he's got like the doesn't he have like the leather jacket and he's like kind of like crazy.
Yeah, he's like a rocker. He's in a band.
Yeah,
he's
that's
like a
what it
rock
is.
band. He
Yeah.
honestly just sounds like Two-Face without the makeup on.
Yeah, completely.
Yeah, it's
and then
awesome.
He just like they were like Tommy Lee is sweet. Tommy Lee is sweet. Let's make him Two-Face. Oh, that was the worst idea that's ever
Yeah.
happened.
They have a sweet knife fight in Under Siege.
Yes.
One of the best knife fights.
The,
It's like-
Under Siege is great. Under Siege is like total.
It was like one of my favorite guilty pleasures as a kid because not only did you see like the hot Playboy model naked, which, sorry, it was just like a lot of cussing, a lot of like gnarly like gore, like it was the perfect like kids badass action movie.
And Seagal is like he's like your classic, like doesn't say more than he has to.
Doesn't move like more than 6 inches
Brooding.
at a time, but kills everybody.
Aikido master.
Snaps many necks.
Yeah, he's like MacGruber is based mostly on the cheesiest versions of these movies. It's based
yeah.
less on the good ones, like the Fugitive.
Oh,
it's
yeah,
based
no.
way more on like Under Siege and like Rambo first, like Rambo 3, and like those kind of things.
Such a bad movie.
My life is here now. We're gonna do MacGruber on the show someday.
We will. We're just waiting for Will Forte.
Yeah,
That's all we want.
We hope we can get Forte to come in here and do it with us sometime. So that would be amazing. Yeah, JFK. I have seen JFK, though I don't really associate that movie as like a Tommy Lee Jones movie.
Yeah, not quite.
I mean, he's good in it.
Yeah.
I don't think
He's good in most everything that he does, other than
the nice thing about him is that in the way that he and Harrison Ford both sort of aged and got to this point in their career where they had to take they were a little older, they had to take those roles.
Yeah.
Tommy Lee did a great job taking those roles. Like, he chose really good stuff, and he continued to do great work. No Country coming
I was
to
going to
mind,
say No
obviously.
Country. He killed it.
What's it? The Valley of Allah. What's that one?
Wasn't he in Abraham or Lincoln too?
I didn't ever see Lincoln.
I didn't either, but I think he's in it.
Yeah, I think you're right. But he continued to do good work for quite a while. Whereas Ford, it seems like he has chosen sort of more like stranger projects. Like,
Yeah, then he just kind of doesn't do it as much anymore. I mean, until now, which is, everyone's dying over Star Wars.
Yeah, I sold him a bag when I worked at Nordstrom years ago. Ever tell you the story?
Really? Was he cool?
He was just really quiet.
Yeah.
Like,
It seems like he could be a dick, but I don't think he actually is one. I think he's just in his own world.
he wasn't rude. He was just extremely, like, he kept to himself.
Yeah.
This was like probably 7 or 8 years ago when I was living in Seattle still, and it was like a Toomey bag, like a computer bag. It's like the same bag I actually own now.
Okay.
But he just didn't say very much. And I helped him for maybe 15 minutes, and everybody in the store was like staring over. Everybody was like, so jealous that I was helping Harrison Ford.
Right, he was on top of the world then.
Yeah.
I mean, well, maybe not 8 years ago, but he's still Harrison Ford.
He's Harrison freaking Ford. I mean,
I don't see Frantic on here.
what's Frantic 95, something like that?
Panic, Frantic.
Was there a movie that has some title, like a one-word title?
The Client?
Or are you looking at Tommy Lee or Harrison Ford?
I don't remember anymore. I'm looking at Tommy Lee.
No, that's Harrison Ford's in Frantic.
I thought you were talking.
You're looking at House of
forget
Cards. House of Cards, remember?
Yeah. Gotcha.
Anyway, so the bottom line of that is that Harrison Ford is gruff and intense, and he sounds pretty much in person just like he does.
He's a real life action hero.
Just like he does in movies. So, production development. Let's talk about the script. This is pretty funny, actually. The guy that wrote this movie, Jeb Stewart, also
Yeah.
wrote Die Hard. Crazy, right?
It's a good movie, I hear.
Yeah, he wrote Die Hard and The Fugitive. Like, that's 2 of the 5 like most iconic action thrillers of their era.
Yeah.
He wrote them both.
And then he went on to...
Well, here's the funny part about that, though. So he wrote both movies, but in both cases was sort of marginalized, like in the accounts that we read about it.
Right.
In this movie, there's a whole lot of improvised dialogue.
Almost every scene with Tommy Lee Jones and Harrison Ford, not their scenes together because they only have 3, but almost every scene that they're in solely is improvised by them.
Right.
Which is hilarious because he wins Best Supporting Actor. Same thing with Russell Crowe winning Leading when they're just like doing what they want.
Doing what they want.
Doing what they want.
Yeah, no, it's really funny. And a similar thing happened with Die Hard, where the original book was adapted, and then DeSouza, who's the other writer, was sort of the guy who was credited as doing the adaptation, and Jeb Stewart was just sort of like mixed in there as like one of the writers.
Right.
And it's funny because his style, like, this movie's well written. This movie's extremely well written.
Is it though?
Well, it's well written in the sense that it's paced well.
Yeah,
and there's
it's shot incredibly well, like the way it's edited together and all that.
And they do a great job too. One of Ebert's reviews of this movie talks about how they run the risk of, with all these close calls and barely getting away, of a very like, this is not really plausible kind of feeling, like it's feeling really corny.
Right.
But they do such a good job with the dialogue explaining everything that's happening on the police end of things that you can believe why they are one step behind him at all times. And that's a good point. It's tightly scripted in that way.
Yeah, there's not one moment where you're like, well, why haven't these guys figured this out yet? Or why don't they do this yet? Everything is like, he's just literally, like they say, they're one step ahead.
Right.
And it's completely believable, and they get there right away.
Totally.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's funny that, like, this movie and then Die Hard, and then he does these other movies. Like, if you look at his filmography, they're all movies that have, like... I'm going to pull it up right now. I don't have them all written down, but they're all movies that have essentially 2 people on the cover with like
the key art,
looking off to they all look kind of exactly the same, and they all are like, one of them is this movie with Lawrence Fishburne and Sean Connery, and it's like a former judge or like a former investigator, a former prosecutor gets drawn back into the courtroom after 25 years retired when an intriguing case of a black man accused for murder or something. It's like, This is intense. 2 people who are both probably right facing off in the courtroom, noble savages. Like,
savages.
It's like the same as this. It's like 2 protagonists, not really like a real villain. They all kind of look exactly the same, and it's funny that style of writing in the 90s was like great because The Fugitive was so popular.
Oh, of course. I mean, people loved seeing that. Like, two like strong personalities that aren't bad guys squaring off against one another over some just cause.
Totally. And so that's like fairly hilarious. to me that as it aged, he sort of stopped writing good stuff into the 2000s.
It's kind of like the story of this movie for everyone in the production and production side of it.
Totally.
Because you get into Andrew Davis, who directed the movie. You know, this guy's a Chicago native who is known for using Chicago in his movies all the time, like with the St. Patrick's Day parade in this movie.
Right.
You know, so this was the movie for him. This was his career-defining movie. You know, it was nominated for 7 Oscars.
Yeah.
It won 1. And then his career just kind of faded. Like, it wasn't bad. Like, you know, we talked about it earlier. He got Seagal his start, and he did Under Siege.
Yeah.
And he went on to do... the one thing that was pretty interesting was the movie Stony Island, which is like a semi-bio that he did in 78. It was released then, and then it didn't get released on DVD till April 24th, 2012.
Okay.
It's like almost 30, 40 years later. You know?
Interesting.
And yeah, I mean, he did, like I said, Above the Law, he did Under Siege, and then he went on to do The Fugitive, Steal Big, Steal Little, which was Garcia playing the double roles with Alan Arkin. He did Chain Reaction with Keanu and Morgan Freeman, Collateral Damage, which we all know, which when he was doing it, they had to put it on hold for a while because it was so close to September 11th.
Collateral Damage.
It was very uncomfortable.
So what did you say about when you were going to kill me? Right now!
Movie's not good.
It's well written.
Not good. It is very well written. And then he went on to do The Guardian with Costner and Ashton
Kutcher, right?
Kutcher, yeah.
Did you ever watch that movie?
I didn't. I heard it was actually okay.
Oh, okay. I didn't hear that.
But I didn't. I did not hear that. So yeah, his career is just. It's interesting. Like, you do. Under Siege is not a very good movie, but
entertaining,
but for it to fill its role in the time, it was great.
I'll bet you Under Siege, if we watched it again, we would think was about as good as Lethal Weapon 1, which is hilarious to me because. But in my mind, I would never have put the two on the same level.
Oh, never. But I love Under Siege.
Yeah, and Lethal Weapon 1 feels like it's not actually that good. It's like really badly aged.
Yeah, Lethal Weapon did age much more poorly than Die Hard.
Yeah. So these are the movies that he does, right? He's got Die Hard in 88, and he's 33 years old, Jeb Stewart, when he writes this.
Which is very impressive.
Very impressive.
Yeah.
It's a huge movie. It's kind of like Shane Black writing, was it Predator or Lethal Weapon? Lethal Weapon was the big one. Leviathan, which this sounds sweet.
That's my code name when I play Dungeons and Dragons.
Leviathan?
Yeah.
What's your code name on Clash of the Clans?
It's Andrew.
Okay, 1989. Underwater deep-sea miners encounter a Soviet wreck and bring back a dangerous cargo to their base on the ocean floor with horrifying results. The crew of the mining base must fight to survive against the genetic mutation that hunts them down one by one. This is a movie that he wrote called Leviathan before The Fugitive.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Then he writes Lock Up with Stallone. Do you know this movie?
I've heard of it. I've never seen it.
Okay, it also sounds extremely intriguing. With only 6 months left of his prison sentence, inmate Frank Leone is transferred from minimum security to maximum security by a vindictive warden. Sounds sweet.
Sounds awesome.
Sounds like a movie that we should do on the show.
Sounds like The Last Castle, but bad.
Okay, now you get to the whole two people on the cover of the movie trend, which is 1990. He writes Vital Signs, all right?
Okay.
This is a good one. So this is starring Diane Lane, whom I love.
Ben does have a crush on Diane Lane. That's a thing.
This movie follows the lives of medical students who are in their third year, which is the time that they have to decide what they intend to specialize in. At the center is Michael Chatham, son of respected surgeon. That's actually not interesting or funny. The Fugitive, Just Cause, what I mentioned, Fire Down Below, Switchback. Like, this is what he was...
Yeah, the names are great.
And they all look the same. Like, they all look exactly the same. Like, Switchback is starring Slow Internet Connection is what it's starring. Riffing here forever. It's starring Danny Glover and Dennis Quaid. An FBI agent tries to catch a serial killer who kidnapped his son. Right? Like, yeah. It's like...
They're like so cardboard.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, I think that's sort of funny. The other writer on this stuff is this guy, Twohy. What's his name? David Twohy. So David Twohy, this is going to blow your mind if you didn't know this.
Yeah, this is very, very interesting.
Created Pitch Black, and he created the Riddick character and the whole franchise.
You really feel it in this movie.
Riddick? So he creates that, right? Like, he also wrote Waterworld, which is hilarious.
Yeah, it's a good movie.
Yeah. One of the great flops of all time. So the two guys that wrote this movie are essentially an overqualified procedural writer,
right,
and the guy that wrote Waterworld and Chronicles of Riddick. It's so weird.
And they wrote The Fugitive, which was nominated for screenplay, I believe.
Yeah. Very strange.
It's incredible.
Yeah. Producers, it's a husband and wife combo.
Hold on, real quick. Which is really interesting. When people get nominated for screenplay, like they did in this, and I believe in Gladiator, I mean, I could be wrong. I didn't look.
Yeah.
How is it that these guys get nominations for screenplay. Like, does the Guild ever actually read the script, or they just watch the movie and they're like, oh, it's a great story?
I would guess probably way closer to the latter, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because if they read the screenplay for Gladiator or the screenplay for this originally, doesn't have any of the greatest stuff in it.
No.
Like, my favorite line isn't in it.
It's not in the script for Gladiator. Or not this one.
Both.
Yeah. I think it's one of those situations where what are you going to do?
The one in Gladiator is in there. Russell Crowe just hated it and said he wasn't going to do it.
Because he's the best actor in the world?
Yeah, he can make
trash sound good.
Exactly.
Yeah, so anyway, the production on this is not something that we're going to get heavily into. Basically, the main credited producers are Anne and Arnold Kopelson, and they have worked on almost the exact same movies. Arnold had like a good solid 8 or 9 years worth of credits prior.
Husband and wife, right?
I believe so, yeah. And then Anne, they both of their careers sort of tailored off into the mid 2000s. They were both involved in the first. So The Fugitive is based on an old TV show, right? We have the art here. This is the original. It was from like 63 to 67. Same deal. Kimble, framed for killing his wife, goes on the run. It was like 4 seasons worth of.
Right. The end is a little different because he's like squaring off with the one-armed man, and then Gerard actually kills the one-armed man instead of him killing Nichols or saving him from Nichols, which is interesting because I guess in the TV show The Fugitive, Kimble saves Gerard's life like numerous times.
Okay, so
that's him repaying his favor.
And it's like it's a cheesy it's the
60s.
Yeah. So then after the movie was successful and got all the Oscar nominations, they then made another TV adaptation. Did you know this? In 2001?
No.
They brought the TV show back. It was starring Tim Daly.
Yes, I do remember this.
Yeah.
I never watched it. Not one episode.
Neither did I.
No.
I forgot that it existed until I was looking it up.
I forgot that it existed until I think everyone could tell right then.
For those of you who don't know who Tim Daly is, by the way, Tim Daly is the guy that did the voice of Superman in the Superman cartoon. I'm fairly certain. I know that he did it when it was the Adventures of Batman and Superman, but I'm fairly certain he did the voice of Superman all throughout.
Love it.
Love Tim Daly. Loved it. He's also in Diner, which is one of my favorite movies. It's a Barry Levinson movie from the early 80s, but anyway... It's funny to me. I don't know anything about it. But so the same production team, Anne and Arnold Kopelson, also produced this. They produced the movie.
So they just love The Fugitive.
That was a successful property, so I'm sure they were interested in bringing it back. But it was not particularly successful. No. It was like 22, 23 episodes. So either one long season or a short, but they didn't used to do those like 6 and then like a 16 back then. So yeah, that's pretty much the deal with the production of it.
You know what's surprising about this movie, other than they talk about like where it was shot and like the train wreck actually happened. It's still there. It's still like a tourist attraction when you drive through North Dakota,
something like that.
Yeah. But really, there's not a lot about this movie out there, and I think that's what kind of blows my mind about its nomination for Best Picture and Supporting Actor and Screenplay and all that. The editing and the sound, that makes sense, but like this movie is very basic.
Right.
There's not a lot about it. There's not a lot of interesting things that happen. It's just executed very, very well.
North Carolina, by the way. It was
North Carolina, I'm sorry.
And it cost $1 million to film the scene.
And they can only do it once.
Yes, and it was a real train. That's why the wreckage is still there. So it's a single take. Anyway, sorry.
Oh, no, that was it. I was just saying, like, it makes sense why there's not a lot out there, but at the same time, you'd think with everything about or behind this movie.
And how important it is to people.
Exactly. Yeah. You think there'd be a little more. But, whatever. I digress. Let's move on to money.
Yeah.
Critical reception.
So the movie did well. It made quite a bit of money.
Yes.
Let's see. Like we have a box office here for Harrison Ford for his all-timers, and these are adjusted for inflation, obviously, because there's a bunch of old movies in here. Pretty crazy that The Fugitive. It's not only is it crazy to me that it's in the top 10. It's almost crazy that it's not like.
Well, you take out Indiana Jones and Star Wars, and it's number 1.
Yeah. Well, so I guess what I mean is when you think about Harrison Ford and you think about his massive box office appeal. Mm-hmm. In some ways, I would go like, in my mind, I'd be like, The Fugitive, there's no way it's even top 10. I'd be like, he has so many. Yeah, if I was just first thinking about it. But then if you start to think about it, you try to list them all off. You're like, okay. It's almost, and then when you think about it, then you're like, oh God, it's crazy that it's even number 7 because it made more money than Crystal Skulls. That's crazy.
It is. It actually is. But I mean, that's what, when you gotta kind of just like nod your head to the audience and be like, yep. You're smarter than they give you credit for. Because that movie looked like shit. And it was.
It was not good.
It was not good. But I guess if it's 7th after the next 3 Star Wars movies comes out, it'll be 10th. It'll get bumped down.
Yeah. I mean, as long as Harrison's in all 3.
Yeah, right.
There's no doubt that... which, by the way, that trailer is like the sweetest thing I've ever seen.
It is very sweet. Okay, so I'm probably going to get crucified for this.
Yeah.
I don't even know if I should say it on air. I don't want to lose viewers. I love Star Wars. I grew up watching Star Wars. They're some of my favorite movies. Like, I loved watching them growing up. But
yeah,
I hated the second three.
Well,
the second trilogy,
most
which I think
did.
everyone did. So I'm like at this point where I'm like holding a grudge.
Right.
I'm like an angry ex-girlfriend or something, to where I'm just like, I'm not going to give you the credit you deserve. I watched the trailer. It blew my mind. I can't wait to watch the movie. I texted you right after. I was like, we're going opening day, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's sold out. I was like, yeah, so. I'm just not that excited for it.
You're insane.
I know I am. I think it's going to be great. I'm going to love it. I'm going to go opening week. But I just, when movies get this much hype after getting let down so much.
I'm like overwhelmed with excitement.
I know you are.
Like, I can't even.
And I love Star Wars.
Yeah.
Oh, well, whatever. So this movie cost $44 million to make. It was produced by Warner Brothers. It came out August 6th in 93.
End of summer.
Yeah, it's a good time for a movie to come out. It grossed $183.8 million domestic and $185 worldwide.
I wonder if the expectation was that high.
I know. I would love to have been around. I mean, I was 7.
Right.
Or 93. I was 5. So I have no idea. I remember watching it. My sister Sandra.
Right.
This is one of her favorite movies of all time, and she was the one that originally showed it to me. I watched it with her every time I would go and visit during the summer.
Yeah.
And this movie was amazing. It was very intense for me as a kid too.
Yeah.
Like, it was scary, like the cutting in the beginning and the wife dying, and then like the one-armed man.
Right.
Like, it freaked me out.
Totally.
You know, it was gripping. It was like really, really good. So you got to think, with where these guys were at their career, that people were really looking forward to this movie.
Yeah, I mean, you got to think, like, we talk about the age of the movie star is gone. Like, people are just sort of like not, like, movie stars don't exist in the same way they did back then.
Yeah.
This was the heyday.
Yeah.
Like the early 90s, 93,
yeah.
94. And a guy like Harrison Ford is that guy. Like, he's that guy where, like, his name's on the bill, so you're just like, I'm going to go see this movie. Mm-hmm. The Fugitive. Like, I'm going to go see this Harrison Ford movie because it looks sweet.
Absolutely.
You know, it was almost like the bad trailer effect didn't matter as much because...
Well, was it that bad back then?
No, but like the name value was like so relevant that a bad trailer, you're like, oh, this is cool. Like, I'll take this premise. I mean, that's the funny thing is, like, all those movies that we were reading, like the premises for on those boxes, if you put a good actor in one of those situations back then, it was appealing. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
It was exciting.
You could put him in anything.
Yeah. It was just like, put this guy you love to watch get out of stuff in a situation.
That's like what the 90s was for movies.
Yeah, which is weird because if you think about it now, if you troll through Netflix, Hulu Plus, Amazon Prime, you look at all these streaming options, you go to Redbox, you will literally find 90 out of 100 movies that you've never heard of. And
yeah, absolutely.
90 of those movies that you've never heard of are going to be just the same thing. Ryan Reynolds is in a situation that he has to get out of. Are you intrigued enough to get it? Because they weren't intrigued enough by the premise to put it in theaters, so it went straight to streaming.
Buried is a great example of that. I heard it was a great movie, incredible acting. It was a small release.
Totally.
But it's just one of those that people just didn't want to see.
It's just weird how it works. Like, it just seems to be. I mean, you'll see these movies like, what was that, Fury? No, Rage. Is what it's called?
The Nicolas Cage one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's basically just a Taken ripoff.
Right. I didn't see Fury. I didn't see Killing Them Softly. I didn't see Mud. Like, these are all movies with big A-list actors. McConaughey, Cage, Pitt.
Yeah.
I just didn't watch.
Yeah, I mean, it's like you think about Cage, it's like you just put him in a movie like this. It's like Nicolas Cage used to be able to have that name value. Now you put him in a movie like that, and it's just like
a joke.
We're not going to put this in theaters.
Right.
Because the premise that we're using here, which is just make a subpar story.
The blood they spill will be on our blades.
And put Nick Cage in it is not going to get people in the theaters. So, like, that's the world we're in now. And it's, you know, it used to just sort of be like, if this had turned out to be a bad movie, people would have still would have made $185 million because it was Harrison Ford in the middle of this movie.
I feel the air coming on. I don't know if you guys can tell I'm warm. All right, so let's move on. Let's get on to critical reception here.
So it's obviously extremely well reviewed,
successful.
Yeah, one of the all-timers.
Yeah, so it's got 7.8 on IMDb, which is actually a little lower than I thought originally that it would be at, but it makes sense for the type of movie it is.
I would think it was higher. Yeah, I'm with you completely.
I feel like maybe in the 90s and the early 2000s it could have been higher. I mean, movies drop all the time.
Yeah, true, and it's not seen by as many people.
Right.
Like, I wonder how many of our fans on this show are, like, into and aware of this movie.
Well, it's weird. I'm sitting here, I mean, every time I look down at my phone, I promise you guys it's because of you. I'm reading our live chat here on YouTube, and a lot of people are saying, like, oh, I haven't seen The Fugitive in so long, or I just finished it for the first time and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And, you know, and it's one of those movies, it's like that. But it doesn't age.
Right.
Like, yesterday we were totally into it, other than that moment when we were like, should we do The Edge?
Yeah.
We should do The Edge.
The
We
Edge
watched the
is
trailer.
so,
We're like, I don't know if we should do The Edge.
So sweet.
It's so sweet.
If anybody hasn't seen The Edge, just win the contest and have us do The Edge. It's so good.
They died trying to save my life.
Can't fight the bear, Charles. It's one step ahead of us all the time. All right, keep going.
Okay, so Rotten Tomatoes, all critics, top critics and audience give it a 96, a 94, and an 89 respectively,
It's pretty good.
which is very, very good. I mean, most movies would die to have that kind of review.
Yeah.
And, I mean, it was kind of hard to find a negative review about this movie. Was it Jay Boyer? Yeah, Jay Boyer from the Orlando Sentinel says, while there are actors in the film, there isn't much room for acting. Which is funny because it won Best Supporting Actor.
Yeah.
Yeah. The rapid editing and near absence of dialogue reduces the actors to action figures with colorful labels pasted on their foreheads. Really?
Sounds kind of silly
Do you
to me.
understand that at all?
Yeah, it sounds ridiculous.
Screenplay, supporting, picture.
Did we not recast, by the way? I'm just noticing. Did we not recast Pantaleano? We changed our mind?
I took it out. I took him out.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Which is funny because he actually died at the end of this movie originally.
And then he bartered
Yeah.
to be in for the sequel, right?
Yeah.
For U.S.
He was able to
Marshals.
fight, which is a great film.
U.S. Marshals, great movie.
And then the positive review, or the fresh one, if you want to read that one off.
Yeah, absolutely. The positive review. So you have... Wait, I'm on the wrong page here. You have, it's a pleasure to find a thriller fulfilling its duties with such a gusto. The emotions ring solid. The script finds time to relax into backchat, and for once, the stunts look like acts of desperation rather than shows of prowess. That's Anthony Lane from The New Yorker. Yeah, I mean, I would say pretty accurate. It's tightly wound. I mean, I said to a couple people we were doing this movie this week, and I got a couple people that were like, "Are you sure that's an action movie?"
Right.
They think it's more of a thriller or a drama.
Yeah, and we had the same thing with Looper that we just did, and Gladiator. People have been saying things about being like an epic.
Yeah,
but these are all action movies.
It comes down to like there's like a combination of a few things, and it's like tone is a big one. This movie's the tone is totally 90s.
The tone is perfect.
Yeah, it's dead on. You have like some of those so like those cliche tropes, right? So like definitely the fist fight at the end is a big one.
Yep.
The montages, like, and then you ultimately you have
music.
like. Yeah, and you have
Which
like
I believe this also got nominated for Best Score.
it's amazing.
Yeah.
And then you also just have the fact like there's action, like the train explosion.
Yeah, no, they're getting away. The close calls, the shootouts. The aqueduct. Like
Totally.
This is an action movie.
Yeah.
I mean, even as much as you guys saw where I ranked Taking of Pelham 1, 2, 3 last week. It's
just a travesty.
Just disgusting to me. That movie isn't quite the same, but it has that tone.
Right.
And tone is so key. Like, we've talked about this so many times, Ben and I, trying to figure out, like, our rules and, like, what movies fit and what movies don't, because we debate about it all the time. Like, we don't just pick a movie and we're like, oh, yeah, that sounds great, let's do that one. It's a process.
Yeah.
And one of the biggest things, if not the biggest thing, is tone in these films. And Taking Pelham has it, and The Fugitive definitely has it.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, I think ultimate action scene...
This guy, U.S. Marshals isn't good. Yeah, we know.
We know it's not good. True story about U.S. Marshals. One of my favorites. I was telling Andrew this last night. When I was a kid, I was walking home from the comic book store that was by my house that I used to work at. I would work there for store credit, and I would buy Spawn toys. But I was walking home and came across a yard sale. And this person, this must have been like 96.
Spawn
97.
toys, really? Just Spawn?
Yeah, I had a lot of
Did
Spawn
you have a
toys.
fat clown?
I had a lot of them.
I love it.
Yeah.
All right, keep going.
And I was walking home, and there was a yard sale, and these people had these 7 VHS tapes. They were selling them for $1 each, like the lowest level form of pirating. And they were like, extended play, like 6 hours on each side,
Right.
and they had 3 movies taped off cable on each side. And I bought all of them for like $7.
Yeah.
And
That's like me with $5 bins.
Yeah.
I just can't control myself.
so we had an old TV with a VHS player, and like I would see movies, but like this was a big one for me where I got like 40 movies in my rotation
Right.
as a kid that I otherwise didn't have. And I watched every single movie on those tapes a good solid 5 or 6 times. The Edge was on there,
Yeah.
U.S. Marshals was on there, Deep Impact was on there. Yeah, it's a bad one.
They're not a good one.
There were some really bad movies in there. I believe Most Wanted with Keenan Ivory
that
Wayne
movie's sweet.
was on there. There were some real good ones. So
Yeah, my buddy had a black box growing up. You know what those were? Those like cable boxes that were illegal. You paid like $60 for them, and then you got every channel.
Oh, no, I
including
didn't-
Playboy, all the pay-per-views,
Oh,
like everything.
Sounds
Yeah,
exciting.
It was amazing
for a young lad.
Yeah, absolutely. So whenever I would go to his house, his parents were at the same thing, like
Right.
pirating on the lowest level. They had this whole wall of must have been 500-600 100 VHS tapes.
Yeah.
That were all just blank tapes with like 4 movie titles written on them that they would just record off cable.
So you used everything.
Oh, I would watch. Yeah, I would go over there and watch movies all the time.
All the movies.
Yeah, it was amazing.
That's awesome.
Those are better days.
Yeah, man, I feel like it's too easy now. You can just watch anything you want anytime.
Yeah.
It's not as exciting. You don't
pirating
stumble
isn't what
upon
it
a
used to
gem.
be.
Yeah. The ultimate action scene in this movie, I guess it's the train, probably. Maybe it's the jumping off of the waterfall. I mean,
No, it's the train. It's the train.
for the sake of action, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, there's like people getting shot, people dying. There's the explosion.
It's not really an action movie in that sense. In that
No.
sense, it's not actiony, but yeah, I mean, it is the train.
Yeah, it's a chase movie.
Yeah, definitely
action.
a consideration for fist bump moment for me was during the train scene when you
Oh, God, yes.
when you realize that the cop with the mustache is actually just the guy from Office Space who
Tom
makes
or
the
something?
who makes the jump to conclusions map. It's a jump to conclusions map.
It's a map with conclusions on it
that you can jump to.
This is a horrible idea.
I deal with the goddamn customers. That guy.
I'm good at dealing with people. Funny story is when I was in acting class in high school, my 2 buddies played the 2 Michaels.
Yeah.
And we did 3 scenes. It was all the interviews. It was the Michael Bolton one, the Tom one, and,
Yeah.
and the one with Peter.
Yeah,
The main guy. Just reminded me that was funny.
I've always been such a fan of Office
Great.
Space. That's like one of the truly underappreciated, like in the sense that it just hasn't aged at all.
Oh, it's still hilarious, but it is true that the last 30 minutes of that movie is one of the worst 30 minutes ever.
Where it like
It just dies. Just
falls
like
apart.
just end.
It's just not funny anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, right. It's hard to end comedies. Wow, that's it for production.
We're into our stuff.
into the meat of the show. That's
right.
What time is it? Look at that. Are we going fast today?
We're just at a good pace.
Yeah?
We're just like the Fugitive. It's
Yeah.
cut perfectly.
You look like you're jogging at a good pace.
Well, it's because I'm sweating.
That's what I was getting at.
Yeah, I know. ha, everybody. Look, I sweat a lot, okay? I've got active sweat glands. Turn the AC up, okay? Jesus. I'm very protective. All right, favorite line. Let's move on.
You want to go? Because I think you have a line you like a lot. Here.
I do. My favorite line in the movie, which is funny because it's improvised.
Yeah.
And it was originally the line is I didn't kill my wife.
Yeah.
I don't care.
Yeah.
It's just great because it's true. He doesn't care. He's
Yeah.
not, and he says it later on. He's not trying
just
to
doing
prove,
his job.
He's not trying to solve a puzzle. He's trying to catch a man.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if he's innocent or not. He's doing his job.
Totally.
And originally, he says, "What? That's not my problem," or what is it?
I think it doesn't concern me. I think.
Yeah, it
or
doesn't
something like
concern
that.
me, something like that.
Something like that was in the script, and
Tommy
he
Lee
changed
was
it.
like, "Please, let me make it this."
Yeah.
So much better. Such a great line. And then the other one, which I'm positive isn't yours, is when he's talking to that guard.
Yeah.
In the hospital right after he shaves, he's like 6'1", beard, blah blah blah, dark hair. He's like, only every time I look in the mirror, except for minus the beard.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's just stupid but funny.
It's great. There's a bunch of lines I like. I think the one that sticks out to me is when he and the other prisoner, the guy who they end up shooting later.
Oh yeah, that Tommy Lee Jones kills.
Yeah, when they get off and he uncuffs him. He's like, whatever you do, just don't follow me. He's like, no problem. And he looks at him. He's like, be good.
Be good.
That's one of my favorite lines. I like that one a lot. And I also really like later when Tommy Lee, after he shoots him, he's like, I don't negotiate. Or I don't bargain.
Oh yeah, I don't bargain. Yeah,
that's a good
great.
line
That's
too.
a very good line. It's like actually a good line.
Tommy Lee's like just the best character in the movie, blatantly. Like
Yeah, and it's interesting when we get into
hero villain ranking.
hero villain ranking, which we're there right now.
Yeah.
So let's pull up our lists here.
It's a really hard one, right? Because
I
he's
think you
not.
have to put him as a villain. Because you can't put him as the hero.
He's not the. He's an antagonist. But he's definitely
Exactly.
not a villain.
But if you have to categorize him, so then can you just not use him from this movie?
Well, all right. Let's start with your list. So let's zoom in here because we both have terrible eyesight.
I'm very bad. Yeah.
So we'll start. We'll just look at yours first.
So these are the movies.
Yeah. So
We can do movies first.
okay.
That's
So
fine.
we'll do
Doesn't
movie
matter.
first. Yeah, this is good.
Okay.
This is a great movie.
This is a very, very good movie, and I still
I love that
still
Fury
love it.
Road is number 3 for you. You're crazy.
Dude, you haven't even watched it again since seeing it in theaters. You've
it's
seen
not
it
a
one
better
time.
movie than Aliens and T2. You're nuts.
That's not true. Watch it again. It's a phenomenal movie. I will stab you with this pen. I think I gotta put it. Oh man, this is tough. This is the thing: is that the movies they're so good and there's so many of them. I got to put it after Rogue Nation, I think. Ahead of Minority Report, Identity, and Die Hard. This movie, again, for me growing up, this was a huge part of me growing up. And it's just a great movie. And got a Best Picture nom.
So you still think that Air Force One, MI3, those are better movies?
Yeah, I do. I still do. So I'm going to put it at, it looks like 11, right? That's where I'm going.
Wow,
number
you have
11.
Man on Fire high. Jeez. It's remarkable. So you're putting it at number 11, and then you move Rogue Nation down to 12?
Yep.
Okay, I guess I'll take
Rogue
it.
Nation. Okay,
Trained to do what we do.
You do not need to do that. All right, what are you doing with yours?
Benji, the syndicate is real. Got me going, man.
I know. No, I wouldn't. I would never do that to you.
So, Predator is amazing. Man on Fire, incredible. This is still a better movie than those. This is a better movie.
You
than
only have
3.
Mad Max 5 lower than me. You need to calm yourself.
Yeah, but that's
and
the
you haven't
movies,
even watched it again.
But the movies that it's like the movies that's ahead of for you, or the thing that gets
movies that it's ahead of for you.
Shoot, is this better than? It's gonna be right in that range. I put Looper at number 7. Really? This is my list, not yours.
This is your list.
Oh yeah, it's definitely my list because T2. Jeez, Looper's not that good of a movie.
It's funny because what's going to happen is like when we get to like 30 or 40 movies, we're going to do what we did before and sit down and redo our lists.
Yeah, we're gonna have to re-rank.
Yeah.
I think that I have to put The Fugitive higher than Man on Fire. It's a tighter movie than Mission Impossible 3, even though I love Mission Impossible 3.
Uh-huh.
It's a better movie than Bourne, but it's close.
Right. That's how I felt as well.
I think it's just right in that range. Looper, Mad Max, Minority Report. It's somewhere in there, but it's not. It's like it's better than Die Hard in a lot of ways.
Again, it's so tough with these movies that have aged because they have a sentiment. They have like a nostalgia with you.
No, I know what I'm doing.
What are you doing?
It's number 6. It bumps Die Hard.
Number 6.
The Fugitive is a really fantastic movie. Like The Fugitive is such a tightly wound movie, and it's so iconic, and it's inspired so many characters. So many stories have been based on these characters, like on Gerard especially.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Gerard is yeah.
That I think when you're watching this movie, you're just like. It's like sort of the police procedural feel that this movie has it's such an important movie.
He's sweet in U.S. Marshals.
He's good. Yeah, I mean, he's good. So he's not good is Wesley Snipes.
I love my favorite part of the movie is when it ends and he's like, blah, whatever his name is. How does it feel? How does it feel to be free? He's like, righteous.
Yeah. We need to do more Wesley Snipes on this show.
We do.
We have to do Drop Zone
and Blade.
Yeah.
All right. So, heroes. As much as I love Kimble, he's not on my list. He does not rank for me.
So is Gerard a hero?
He's not. I don't think you can make him a hero. I think he's a villain. Mark, you want to chime in? Do you have any opinions on this little debate since it's 1 versus 1?
Yeah.
I think he has to be the villain.
I don't think he counts as a villain.
So wait, so you just can't rank him?
He rides the line in between the two of hero and villain so well.
Yeah, it's a tough one. What's the chat say? Does the chat have any opinion on this?
Guys, what do you think? I don't know. What do you guys think about hero villain? Like, is he a hero or is he a villain, or can we just not rank him?
I mean, you look at the characters that you're putting him up against, right? If he's a villain, he's not a villain like any of those guys are villains. He's just not even close. Like every one of those guys.
He's kind of like the Queen Alien.
Because he's like, what?
No, he's not on the list. Then he doesn't get it. He doesn't get to make either one. Put my foot down.
No, that's ridiculous.
No, it's not.
He's too good of a character.
He's a villain. Then he's not a hero.
I think it's a situation where you have two protagonists. Do we have anybody who has an opinion? No?
Tommy Lee is Max. Shut up. So Max Brockman says Tommy Lee is more of a hero, and then another guy says he's not a villain. He's lawful good. He's never good. He never helps the hero.
He does help the hero.
When?
When he decides that he is going to believe him.
He doesn't help him. The hero helps him. The hero, who is Harrison Ford, saves him.
He's a hero in my book. He's a hero in my book.
All right, whatever. It's your list.
Yeah. So
I know he is too good not to rank. That I totally agree with you guys.
He's a better character than many of these. He's a better character than Creasy.
Heroic in the whole movie.
On the level of McClane. He's
on the level of John McClane.
He is between McClane and Riggs for me.
If we're watching US
to show, we haven't even shown it yet.
We'll get into it.
I don't know. I guess it's undecided. I guess
the one-armed guy isn't the villain. The villain's Dr. Nichols.
Yeah, but neither of those guys are like, they're both just kind of like whatever.
Exactly.
Which means
the one-armed guy. Here we go. The one-armed guy and Tommy Lee Jones fill the same role on opposite spectrums. and Nichols is the true villain, and Ford is the true hero.
Yeah, I guess you just don't put Tommy Lee on the list, but it seems so disingenuous what we're doing. He won a friggin' Oscar for what he did, and he doesn't even get to make a list for an action movie.
Not on our show.
I mean, if you were doing Heat, we would never do Heat on this show because it's way too much of a drama. I mean, actually, we maybe would because Heat's amazing, but they're both the hero.
Hey, man, we'll get to that when we get to Heat. Then we'll put them both on the hero ranking.
Van Zandt and Waingauer are both the villains, but neither one is, like, relevant. So it's like, it really just, they're both the hero. So it's like...
I mean, we had the same discussion with Looper, where there's a hero and there's an anti-hero that is kind of the villain, even though Jeff Daniels is the true villain.
Yeah, but even though in that one I
Bruce
feel like
Willis
Willis
is
is
worse.
clearly the villain because he kills a kid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This guy killed a guy that was trying to bargain with him.
He doesn't bargain.
He doesn't bargain. All right. We're moving on. Oh, wait, no, we're not moving on. Are you ranking him or not? Are you putting him at 11 or is it stricken from the record?
It's an asterisk at the bottom of my list. Gerard from The
Asterisk.
Fugitive.
Is that an astrological sign?
No.
No, that's not what it is. You need to read a goddamn book.
It's like a thing like an ellipses, man. Okay.
Let's show our clip.
I forgot that we even had this. It's just a sequence of Harrison Ford just saying like things about my family and my wife
I found this
repeatedly.
a few years ago, and I showed this to Ben. I don't remember when.
Where's my family? Where's my family? Where's my family? I'm not leaving without my family. I'll do anything to save my family. My family first! Let me talk to my wife. This is what you kidnapped my family for. I'll get you $5 million to get my family out of that house. You get the money. I get my family. I'm looking for my wife. I checked in this morning with my wife. Yes. I'm looking for my wife. My wife.
My wife? My family.
For my wife. Yes, my wife.
It doesn't get old.
No, it doesn't get old at all.
Has everyone else had their wife kidnapped? My wife was kidnapped. Mr. Sheff, you're talking about my wife. My wife.
What wife?
All I know is that I have your suitcase and you have my wife. I have your suitcase. You have my wife's suitcase. You put my wife's suitcase in the locker this morning.
sorry.
My wife's, goddammit! You put my wife's suitcase in the locker. My wife's name tag. I tore this place off myself.
I have your suitcase. You have my wife's suitcase.
Who's got my wife? My wife. Are you suggesting that I killed my wife? I didn't kill my wife! They killed my wife. My wife, I guess. This is my wife, Catherine. What about my daughter?
Let them take their cameras into my daughter's hospital room.
I'm after the man who tried to kill my family.
My face hurts.
Look for a gift from my wife. I think it's possible that my wife may have been on your airplane. My wife was on that plane. My wife was in Miami.
This is pretty good.
Thank you, Avril Haley, for that. That was very good. My wife. You have
That
my
video-
wife's suitcase. I have your suitcase.
That video is to Harrison Ford what the running through all locations video is to Tom
yeah,
Cruise.
exactly.
Where he doesn't say anything, he's just running, running places. It's like the same thing. I think that's funnier, though.
My face hurts. That was beautiful.
That's very good. Recast? You do a recast?
Of course I did a recast.
Oh, yeah, of
Okay,
course.
so another thing that we're going to start doing that I'm going to curveball and throwing some new in. We're going to be
In
auctioning
Australia,
off
they've been drinking-
Ben's suits. No, what? So Recast it's great. It's one of our favorite parts of the show. You guys love it. We love it. But we've been doing it for 27 episodes now.
Yeah.
And it's not that it's stale, but we've done it a lot. So now we're going to turn it into more of a competition just between Ben and I and usually our third guest or fourth. We're going to do our recasts just like you guys do, and we'd love for you to share them on YouTube and Twitter and all that. But on our Twitter account, I want you guys to start picking who you think did a better recast. I want you to tweet at us and say either Ben's or Andrew's recast
This
is
is
better.
news to me.
I know. It's curveball, dropping bombs. I think it's cool. I think it's a good idea.
It's a good idea.
And I think that it'll bring more interaction, and also it'll add something to the recast that I feel like is where it's starting to get stale. We'll care more now. I don't like to lose.
I don't like to lose either.
Well.
Because all I do is win. I'm like Alex Smith prior to this year. No,
Really?
not good.
No?
That's a bad one.
I thought you should have said Russell Wilson prior to this year. Whammy!
Yeah.
I hate the Seahawks.
Clever.
Here we go.
Let's go with, should we start with Nichols?
I'm very happy with my Nichols.
Okay, what do you got?
You may recognize me as the villain in a number of American action movies. It's Joaquin de Almeida, our boy from
from Clear and Present Danger, and
was the one I looked up? Oh,
Desperado.
Yeah,
He's in a
yeah.
movie that's out right now called Our Brand is Crisis.
Yep,
with Sandra Bullock and Billy Bob Thornton.
He loves having drinks on Main Street in Santa Monica and talking about movies he's
You
been
may
in.
recognize me. A great number of American action movies.
I think it'd be perfect. What do you got?
I went with Alan Rickman.
Alan Rickman.
Alan Rickman.
I give you the FBI.
You wanted a miracle. I give you the FBI.
Oh yeah, that's a good idea. For when you guys do tweet at us, just put hashtag recast winner, something like that. Like
Master recaster.
Master recast.
That's a Hearst.
Hearst is gonna be upset. You know what? No, he's not gonna be upset. He said it for so long. We're gonna take it because it's beautiful. So when you pick the winner, Ben or Andrew, hashtag Master Recaster. Brian Hearst will be happy, and he'll probably beat us every week anyway. So
Hearst is like,
he's the greatest recaster.
Hearst is like playing against the computer, is what it feels like.
Yeah, he's like the guy that beats the computer in chess.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Sykes, the one-armed man.
I went with Jackie Earl Haley. Did you?
That's good. That's really good. He's creepy, and he's the thing that's about the one-armed man is that he needs to be intimidating and scary, but not so big or overpowering to where you think that Kimble couldn't have fought him off.
I went with The Rock.
And so I went with The Rock, and Tom Hardy is one person. I went with Danny Trejo because he's a little older now.
Yeah,
he's still creepy. You'd still see him as the guy that
He's
would
gruff.
take the job that used to be head of security.
Right.
Still is.
Yep.
One-armed. But he could still get overpowered in a moment of passion.
Completely.
By who I picked as Kimble. So who did you do for our boy Gerard?
This is one of my favorites. I went with J.K. Simmons. And the reason I went with J.K. Simmons is I was sort of imagining, like, I don't think you go J.K. Simmons like where he usually looks, where he's like bald head and he's. I think you kind of you just make him look a little bit more of like a cop.
You give him a mustache?
Yeah, I think so.
You do?
I think you maybe
like a Colin Farrell mustache?
Maybe you give him a mustache and a hat. He's wearing a U.S. Marshals hat or something like that.
Okay.
You know, some sort of a flak jacket. And he's a little less like quippy and sarcastic, and he's just like a little bit more like just fucking intense, like
just
Whiplash.
like dry and yeah.
Just like
Whiplash is so,
angry.
Can we do Whiplash on the show just so I can talk about it?
It's such a good movie.
So good. I went with John Hamm.
For Gerard?
For Gerard. Like literally same character as the town. He kills it in that movie.
He's great in
as
that.
that character. He's perfect at it, and he's so good at being that, just like, I am by the book, I am doing my job. If you get in my way, you're done.
I just want you to know you're going to die in federal prison.
Die in federal prison.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, it's very good. And then for my Kimble, we actually talked about this yesterday. Bryan Cranston.
Really good.
Just perfect.
I went with Clooney.
I like that.
I thought about it, and like there's
like that.
when Clooney hit that point a little later in his career when he got a little better at playing like softer, a little less in control characters. Still can be the smartest guy in the room,
right?
But like sort of the character that he plays in Up in the Air.
I was gonna say that you're talking about like Up in the Air,
or like The Descendants, or like the character that he plays in Syriana.
Okay.
He's just a little. He could put a little weight on him even.
Yeah, like he's not like Ides of March or was the Michael Clayton, George Clooney.
Clayton's closer, but yeah, it's like he's a little less slick and he's a little more like he's been a successful surgeon and now he's running for his life.
Right.
I could see him with the look of panic in his face, the same one that Ford has in a lot of the scenes in this movie.
God, he's so good in this movie.
Yeah. And I think Clooney could do a really good job with that. So
okay. I like that. I think we did good. So you guys let us know. Who do you think did better? Hashtag Master Recaster. Was it me or was it Mr. Benjamin Bateman?
Yeah, I think we both know where this is going. And we're not auctioning my suits off. That was a joke.
It's not a joke.
It's a joke.
Striking $400.
Okay, we have an extra second here. Cage versus Cruz. Who would have been the better Kimble?
I didn't kill my wife.
I don't care.
Done. We don't even need to go on past that. That's perfect. This is a perfect moment.
Red light, green light. Yeah, I think maybe. I think it's just funny because we talked about with the whole idea of there being a superhero everyman and like a everyman. They're both the premier action stars. This movie would have been so much worse with Tom Cruise in the Harrison Ford role.
Oh, absolutely.
So much worse.
Yeah.
And he would have been too young to do it, but it wouldn't have been believable at all. Like it would have just ended up as one of those like false identity, imposter, I need to get my life back type of movies.
Right.
Total Recall kind of a thing.
Yeah.
And just Cruise, just like there's just no way.
No. I mean, you know, it's funny. Who is this? Nick.
Yeah.
Nick Noftseer. Yeah. See, that's how bad my vision is.
Right.
I actually had Josh Brolin as my Gerard for a while. I did, But the reason that I didn't end up using him is because I think that, I guess John Hamm's on the same level. They could just both kick Bryan Cranston's ass.
Because you think a little bit about the Ford character.
Max, I can keep using Bryan Cranston if I want. It's my show.
Hey, Max just said I won the recast. Look at that. Our
look at that. Wow.
Hashtag master recaster.
Sweet. I'm not picking you up from the airport on Monday, Max. I'm not picking you up from the airport. It's not going to happen.
So, yes. I think that... We're just about the physically intimidating hero. That's what I was just getting at.
Yeah.
So because I thought about Wilkinson in the role. I like Wilkinson a lot.
Yeah.
But I just don't think
I couldn't see him running away as much as he has to.
exactly, and he has to be able to throw those punches.
He has to be able to fit through that window on the train, too.
Yeah, that's true. He's a little thicker.
Or bus.
That's why I was sort of thinking Clooney could still. He's right at the back end of that. Like, can still be the everyman where you believe he's like physically able to do it thing.
Yeah.
But like Wilkinson, he's like a step past it.
Yeah, he's just out of the range there.
Yeah. So, I would still call this movie totally legit.
It is. It is totally legit. It's not going to move. It's going to continue to be our like staple for what totally legit is as a movie, and this is perfect.
Oh, I didn't even explain like these last two things. I mean, recasting should be fairly obvious. If it's an old movie, we choose new actors. If it's a new movie, we choose old actors. And in this case of which of the three categories it fits into, we believe there are 3 action movie categories. There's Totally Legitimate, which is a movie that we usually use The Fugitive actually as the example of.
And it's perfect.
A movie that's really, really good. It's a high quality movie. It feels totally legitimate. It doesn't feel like you're laughing unintentionally or anything. There are movies that are totally ridiculous. That's like Face Off and Con Air, where they're just like very sort of silly.
Yeah.
And they're hard to really feel like you're watching a legitimate movie. It's like they're almost self-aware but not quite. And then there's legitimately ridiculous, which is
that's our pinnacle.
Ridiculously legitimate. I guess it could be either one.
Yeah, it's either one.
And that's sort of the middle category where it's like it's got a great performance in there. It's super compelling, but it's a little funny, maybe unintentionally. But it's just generally awesome. Awesome is the word that I think you describe the middle category with the most.
Yeah.
And that is what this movie feels totally legit, though.
It's totally legit. Like, again, there's that moment. But the reason that we laughed in that moment was because it's what we expect 20 years later from an action movie in the 90s, is the fist punch, like things like that. But in the 90s, when watching it, you were like, oh, yeah, this is great. This is exactly what I want to see.
Totally.
So, yeah, totally legit on both ends.
So that is it for the show today. That wraps us up.
I enjoy doing this show.
You do?
Wait, did I say that out loud?
Yeah.
I was just thinking that.
Yeah. I love doing this show. I'm such a fan. I do love doing this show. You guys have been really pretty wonderful recently as far as just checking out the old catalog, and like it feels like things are just we get a lot of new people watching these episodes.
Do you want to tell them the numbers daily, like what we're getting right now, and and we're not bragging by any means. This is not a number to brag about, but this is like. Yes. It's
just like recently we started to notice that like on the whole catalog of movies, like we've just been increasing. I mean, and we won't even give a number now because it's just hard to know week to week.
Right.
But we've just been increasing is the point, and it seems like there's more and more people looking at the old episodes, and so it's really cool when I get a tweet or we get a comment or something that'll say I found the show and now I'm binge watching old episodes, and it's just exciting for us. So
yeah, and then another person, we introduced movies to them that they'd never seen before, like Speed and Air Force One and Looper.
Speaking of which, we had a contest. And that contest that we ran for the last, I think, 8 or 9 weeks was that once we hit 20 reviews on our iTunes, we were going to stop giving these mugs away. And the mugs are now going to be shipped because we know how many we actually have to order.
We're done. You missed your mug.
We hit 22 reviews on iTunes, and the very last one by Prime Shock is the last one we are picking, not because it's the last one, but because it was random.
Yep.
And this review states, I'm a huge action movie fan. You guys do an excellent job of breaking down each movie in a way that sells me on why I should see them. You guys have introduced me to Speed, Air Force One, and Looper. Can't wait for more. Hey, can we finally get The Rock? It's the Bible of action movies. Yes, we can get The Rock.
You will trust me. We want to do The Rock every single week on this show.
We're trying to make The Rock a really special episode.
Right.
The Rock will probably come in 2016, so it's the 20-year anniversary of the movie.
Unless we get Ed Harris before then.
Yes, but when we can get Ed Harris is when we'll do The Rock.
Yes.
Just,
Fingers crossed.
hashtag get us Ed Harris for The Rock. That is the deal. So lastly, I will repeat one more time. Thank you guys so much for checking us out. We have a new Twitter account. It is at AMA Podcast. If we get 100 new Twitter followers, 100 total Twitter followers by next week, we will let you choose which of these 10 movies to have us do on the show, and you will get to either call in or at the very least submit all of your bits and pieces of what we do on the show. Your opinions, we will share all of them on the show. Those 10 movies, one more time, are gone in 60 seconds. Face Off, The Edge, Commando, True Lies, The Fast and the Furious, Crimson Tide, The Last Samurai, Die Hard with a Vengeance, and Under Siege. And if you are the selected random Twitter user over those 100 users, if we get to 100, you'll tell us what to do, and we will bring your answers on the show.
That's a good list.
We're going to do all these movies eventually.
Eventually.
So, yeah.
I love it. I love it. Love you guys.
Thank you guys so much. We'll see y'all next week.
Take care.
Oh, wait, where can they find us? Wait, we got to not say goodbye.
Hello?
Are we still live? Andrew, where can the people find you?
You guys can find me at Andrew Ghai on Twitter. Just going for that 100th follower. You don't get anything from me, though. I'll tweet you.
You guys can find me at Ben Bateman Media, Twitter and Instagram, mostly Twitter. I'll see you guys next week.
Take care, guys.
From producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire Popcorn Talk Network, we would like to thank you for tuning in. For questions or comments, be sure to visit popcorntalk.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of the Popcorn Talk Network.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of the Popcorn Talk Network or its owners or principals.